Today we make the creature comfort, which is the make and drink zombie. My version of the zombie does not stray too far from that original, at least not in my opinion, but it leans heavily into the rum and into the spice. So much so that you will need 4 rums for this one, and you'll need some secret spices. The make and drink, or the mad secret spices number 7. And I'm not going to be stingy here. I will be sharing with you this ultra secret recipe today. And if you want to know more about that original zombie from the 1930s, I just shared a video on that, and I'll leave a link to it in the description, and there will be a link to it right here as well. The departures here from the original are threefold: the spice, the bitter, the booze. Let's start with the spice. I wanted to come up with a house-made syrup that was essentially in everything but the kitchen sink variety, using the spices that I like the most, but also using things that hold up and not just making something that would eventually taste like an allspice dram. So you'll need quite a few spices for this, but these are easy to find and worth it. You probably even have most of these. First thing first is we're gonna put a towel down on the bar so I don't scorch it. I need 10 grams of cinnamon, which is about this much, and I'm taking half of the cinnamon and setting it aside for a moment, and the other half I'm breaking up into smaller pieces. Now I'm going to set aside those smaller pieces, grab the rest of the cinnamon, and break that down as well. Now I'm grabbing my blowtorch, and I'm going to use this to get to work on the cinnamon. You could always toast this to an extreme degree in a pan, but this is faster, and it smells better, and hopefully doesn't set off the smoke detector, because it's getting kind of smoky in here. But this will impart a very unique burned cinnamon flavor. Now we can start adding everything to our saucepan, including all of our cinnamon. Now I'm adding 5 grams of cardamom, 5 whole cloves, that's 5 cloves, not 5 grams. Then 1 star anise broken up into smaller pieces. Now I'll add in 400 grams of white sugar and 200-ish grams of water. 400 grams of sugar and 200 grams of water will make this a 2-to-1 rich simple syrup, which is what I want. But I'm also going to be simmering this for about 15 minutes, and even when I leave it covered, it will lose some to evaporation. So I'll add some extra water to account for that, about 25 to 30 grams, which just so happens to be 1 ounce. Bring this up to a simmer, and then drop the heat to very low, cover, and let it simmer for 15 minutes. After I took this off the heat, I left it alone for 6 hours to steep. More or less is up to you, but at least several hours. When I checked the bricks here, I got 65, which is close enough to me, and it would have been higher had I not added in that extra water. Let's fine strain this through a fine mesh sieve into a bottle, and we're not done yet. I'll add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and 1 ounce of an allspice dram. I'm using my own allspice dram here, link in the description. And for my bottle, I'm using the Crew bottles with the removable base, which are dishwasher safe, which you can pick up following my link in the description, and you'll get 20% off your first order of $50 or more. And the final thing we need to do, of course, is to label it. And there you go, the Mad Spices number 7. Tastes like cinnamon and clove. You get that burned cinnamon flavor in there as well. It has it tastes much different, I think, than a typical allspice dram or syrup, because you get some of the, I would say some of the zestiness from the cardamom is best to describe. But I do think that each spice that is in this spice mix you can taste. So it's not like something that gets overpowered by an allspice dram or by clove, which is why we just use 5 small cloves. But all of these ingredients working together with that toasted cinnamon make something that's unique to this syrup. Now that we have the spice component done, let's talk the bitter. The original zombie uses Dawn's mix, a mix of cinnamon and grapefruit juice. We have the cinnamon part covered with the spices, but not the grapefruit part. And I'm fine with grapefruit in cocktails. Sometimes I love grapefruit in cocktails, sometimes I don't. But more importantly, to me at least, I don't keep grapefruit on hand. I always have limes. I usually have lemons, and then I often have a fresh pineapple, or at least pineapple juice. But I rarely keep grapefruit on hand. So to simplify things, I wanted to get rid of the grapefruit and use something else that had some bitterness to replace it. The first thought was obviously Campari, which is not an original idea to me. Marie King uses Campari in her Italian Zombie, and it's great. You can use Campari here, and should if you have a bottle, but I'm using the Luxardo Bitter Bianco. I find the flavor to just be lighter, less earthy, less intense, but it still brings the same amount of bitterness, or at least close, and it's delicious. Now, honestly, part of using either of these is to be a little bit different, but it's also about replacing the grapefruit with something that's shelf stable that I will always have on hand, no matter what. So we go to the trouble of making a syrup, but the rest of this is easy. So let's talk about the rum. There's a part of me that rolls my eyes whenever I hear Don the Beachcomber would have done this if he was alive today, because I have no idea what he would do today, and neither do you or anyone else. But keeping in that spirit and me trying to be less cynical, I think he would have definitely used and showcased many different rums that were not available to him at that time. I mean, we can just pretty much guarantee that he would have done that. Which is why most of these rums that I'm using today are just good and generic, but I'm also using a cachaça as well, and more on that cachaça in a moment. Instead of a Puerto Rican rum, I'm using Chairman's as the base, a rummy rum that just tastes like rum. It's hard to describe, and I don't think you can accurately replace this, but the best thing I could say, it's like a Jamaican rum and a Barbados rum had a baby. Appleton Estate 8 is my Jamaican rum because it carries the most Jamaican flavor of the Appleton rums, and I like it. A 151 is definitely a necessity in a zombie, so I'm using Hamilton, and then I wanted something very untraditional, and I happen to love cachaça, even though I don't think we talk about it here enough. Long before I ever knew anything about rum, I loved LeBlanc cachaça, and I still do. But I'm using the bar strength Nova Fogo, not because you need to find this bottle, but I have a couple of this bottle, and while not the same proof as that original bottle of Nova Fogo, this is 43% ABV versus normal 40%, so it's not that big of a difference. But any cachaça will do, or the best sub in my opinion would be the much higher proof Barbancourt Haitian proof, which will be higher proof, but it's closer to cachaças than the agricole, so I would go down that road before jumping into an agricole. And here's the deal with these rums. This is not something I have set in stone. Next time I make this, I might change it up. But the basic principle here is a somewhat generic gold rum, a somewhat generic gold Jamaican rum, a 151 Demerara rum, and then a sugarcane juice rum. But use whatever you like. Don't run out and buy every single thing just to make this cocktail. Just take the principles here of the gold rum, the Demerara, and then a cachaça or a sugarcane juice-based rum. So let's make the creature comfort. And I will start with 6 dashes of Angostura bitters, 1 ounce of lime juice, 3/4 ounces of the Mad Spices number 7, half an ounce of the bitter Bianco or Campari, 1 ounce of Chairman's Reserve rum, 1 ounce of Appleton 8 rum, half an ounce of Hamilton 151 rum, and half an ounce of cachaça. Garnish this with some mint and some lime peel with a cherry. And I almost forgot some freshly grated nutmeg. So there you go, the creature comfort. Try it. Cheers. I played around with this a lot with the amount of cachaça, starting with 1 ounce and then working my way down from there. And I found that half an ounce still comes through. You definitely feel that there's cachaça in there without it being overpowering. And that bitterness coming, whether you're using the bitter Bianco or Campari, it doesn't make it taste like a bitter drink. It's just like a small bit there. It adds a touch of sweetness and then a little bit of bitterness. And then the spice in here is not overwhelming. That the spices provide, the spice syrup provides all of the sweet, most of the sweetness still gets sent from Campari, but most sweetness comes from that 3/4 ounces. If you like things drier, use a 1/2 ounce. You like things sweeter, use a full ounce. So you get the spices through there with the Angostura, and then you get rums that I think complement spice. They're not too aged, so you don't have too much of that oaky vanilla character. You still get the rummy flavor from the Chairman's, from the Appleton, and that hit of deep molasses caramel flavor, caramel flavor that you get from Hamilton 151. We're dropping the rum here. Instead of using 4 ounces of rum with 1 ounce being a 151, there's 3 ounces total, with a couple of those being over 40%, like the 151, the Campari, maybe the Appleton. Is that 43? Yes, it is. So you're getting 3 ounces of spirit. You're still getting a higher proof than if you just use 3 40% ABV rums. So it's not quite the 4 ounces, but I find that drink is not something you're ever really going to want more than one of. And I personally do like this version better than that original one, but that's not because the original is bad. Is this better than the one from the 50s with the pineapple juice and the passion fruit? It's totally different. Is it better than the tropical standard one? No, it's different. It's something I wanted to contribute to the broad category of zombies that had my own little spin, but also like it was important to me to make this not have to go and get a bunch of stuff and do all these processes. Yes, the syrup is intensive in the fact that you need a bunch of spices, but for many of you, you're going to have all those spices on hand already. And then afterwards, you just need lime juice. You know, you should have stuff like this on the bar shelf, whether it's Campari or the rums. If you follow this channel and you make a lot of drinks, you probably have all these things already. So that was a driving component, because it wasn't just about making it easier for someone watching this video, but also for me. So if I had a zombie on my menu and I wanted to stray from that original 1930 zombie, then I wanted something that had Campari without the grapefruit, my own spice blend. And I'm still thinking to the future about how to use that syrup and other things. And if you have cocktails that you come up with using that syrup, if you make that syrup and make the zombie and then want to try other things, then share those with me in this video's comments. Who knows, maybe one day I'll come back and revisit that and make some of those cocktails. I thought about doing that beforehand, like, hey, just use this syrup in cocktails and like a competition, but I'm unwilling to commit to that because I probably wouldn't get around to it. But if you do have something that you come up with that you love using this spice syrup, then seriously, let me know in the comments, or you can join the Make and Drink Patreon and you could share those recipes on the Make and Drink Patreon, and then you can workshop it, because trust me, those people, they drink a lot. They'll be making whatever cocktails you share there in the future. So there you go. That is it for this one. My version of a zombie that I'm calling the Creature Comfort. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like below. Consider subscribing to this channel. And if you want to support this channel more, go check out that Patreon page. Otherwise, see you on the next one, and cheers to the zombie.